All right, everybody. My name is Blake Warrington. I'm an independent team Beachbody coach, and this is going to be a webinar on how to conduct a GoToWebinar. So let's get started here. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to go to gotowebinar.com. gotowebinar.com. That will take you to a page that will look similar to this, where you're going to be entering an email address and a password. Now, this will be our email address here, which is webmaster@teamfitrevolution.com, and then we'll give out the password to you, so you'll get that from one of the other team leadership members on Team Fit Revolution. We don't want to put it out here in this video, it'll be out there on the internet. And then you're going to log in, and that will take you to a screen that will look similar to this. Now, there's two webinars in this particular I'm showing you right now. A real webinar right down here. This is going to be happening this evening, where we got some registrants starting to add or come on in, and they're registering for the webinar, and number will grow throughout the day, and then even towards the very last minute, people really start piling in here, and that number will continue to grow. I'm going to show you how to do this. This is a test webinar that I set up, which we'll go through right now, and we're going to get going on that. So if this is the day of your webinar, number one, you're going to want to have your presentation right. If you're doing a GoToWebinar, whatever your screen shows, that's what the people will be seeing. Now, when you click the start button, it'll start the webinar process, which I'm going to do, and it's going to go through this little prompt. It's going to download some software, so depending upon how fast your internet connection is, but it's usually pretty quick, and I've never really had some minor problems here, or some minor little problems. So as you can see here, this is your control panel here. Now, the webinar has not started yet. So first of all, what you want to do, once you get started, you want to go in here and I'm going to click off these things. So you want to dial in here. You want to use a phone. So this is your particular number. Never give this number out. The number will always be different for every webinar, so you don't need to bother writing this down, because this, like I said, will change as you start different. With your own webinar, you're going to get a different number, a different access code, and a different audio pin every single time. So I'm going to go in here and actually log in, because we're going to have to start the webinar. So we're going to do this. So bear with me for just a second. Can't talk and dial at the same time. Maybe I can. And you're going to hear some prompts.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, web events made easy. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
So now I'm going to enter the access code there, the 530 210 212, and then hit the pound key.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign.
So now you can see the
PIN.
PIN.
Have a PIN.
68 and the pound.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press star 1 to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast.
Okay, so right now I have dialed into the system, and if there's any other presenters within me, you can click on this audience view tab here, and the attendee list here, and as you can see, it says staff. You can click on staff, and it's showing that I'm right here, Team Fit Revolution organizer. I'm the one that logged in. Whoever logs in controls the webinar and clicks that start button. You own the webinar and control it. Now you can pass that off to somebody else if you want. We'll show that maybe in another training. This is a basic training just to kind of get you going. So right now people still can't see anything. You can see this is the audience view here. You can click on that tab or not, and that'll open it up. And you can see this is what they're seeing. They're seeing the system greeting, which has the Monday Business Opportunity webinar, and you can put pictures and things like that. So this is right now, if people were logging into the webinar, this is exactly what they would be seeing. As you can see, they're not seeing your screen, because the minute you click on Show My Screen, then they're going to see everything. And right now you can talk to other members. So let's say that you were doing a presentation with 2 or 3 other people or more. They would actually be in here. So you'd see their name here, and you would see some other things. And you can see that there's a green phone here. that means that that's live. I can talk right now. Now, if one of the other presenters came in, they would show their name there because they had to log in. They would log in with their own. They're going to get their own name and phone number, and then they would log in, and you could see them there. And then you guys could all chat, and you could sit there and talk if you want and talk about what you're going to do and who's going to do what. Hopefully you've done that ahead of time. And typically you want to start the webinar about 10 minutes before. You want to get your screen showing like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down to your address bar, and you're going to open up whatever presentation you're going to do. And in this instance, we're going to pretend this is a business opportunity thing. And then you're going to click on the slideshow, and then click on From Beginning. Now watch what's going to happen in attendance view. It's going to change to what's showing on my screen here in just a second. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. You'll see in here, and I don't know why that changes pretty quick. Oh, it's because we haven't started the webinar. Sorry. So now I got the webinar showing. Now I'm going to click, well, two things. Let me get if you want to do a recording, so you're going to go up here to File, Preferences, then you're going to click over here to Recording, and I always use the GoToMeeting integrated audio, and then, because that way it'll record off with your phone. Sorry about that beep. That's GoToWebinar. And then you're going to want it to convert to Windows Media Player, and then you're going to save it locally on your computer. And after the webinar ends, it'll save the webinar for you locally on your computer in whatever folder or directory you put it in here. You click on OK. And now let's say we're ready to get started. You got all the presenters are on, and you want to get started. So you're going to go up here and click Show My Screen. Now watch what happens. Oh, it's asking me to, do you sure you want to do this? So I click Start Broadcast. Okay, so now the broadcast has started. So now we would actually be live, and any communication that would happen now would start to go, and whatever you're saying, they're going to be hearing. Now, we haven't started the recording, so you need to go up here. If you do want to record this, click the Start Recording button, and then it'll say, now you can see it's changed to Stop Recording. You can see it says we're on the air, showing the screen. So now people are seeing live the screen, and anything you say, they will hear. Now I'm just going to go over a couple of different little things here. So this is your main dashboard, and here's your dashboard. Sorry, that opens up, and here you can see how many people are in attendance, if they've put any questions in. Now we typically don't do Q&A. I mean, especially if it's a business opportunity webinar. If you do want to do Q&A, I typically, in fact, about 99% of the time, I like them to enter their questions. And if you go down here, you're going to see a questions tab. You can click on that, and people can ask their questions in here. And what I'll typically do, they have a little bit different thing. And one thing here, so this control panel here, they can't see that. Here again, if you go to the attendance view, this is what they're seeing. So they can't see any of this. This is the only thing because you're controlling this. So you can see it, and you can hide it by clicking this little arrow here. Now it goes away for you as well, and then you can bring it back. But what you want to do is keep it open all the time typically, and then you can also move it around if you want to, move it to the other side of the screen. I just typically leave it there, unless there's something that's covering up that I'm trying to read. Then you can hide it or whatever. I like to leave the audience view open because I like to see the screen. Sometimes there's a delay, like if you click on the next screen, you can click this on your screen anywhere, and you can see it change. It's going to the next slide. You can click down here, typically if you're on PowerPoint, the lower left-hand corner, and then you can see now they're seeing whatever. See how fast that changed. So now whenever I'm clicking, that's what they're seeing. So depending upon your internet connection, it may be a little bit slower, and they may not be seeing. So watch, I like to have the dashboard open because I want to see what they see, because sometimes there is a little bit of a delay and you might be talking, because I've had some bad internet connections. So just make sure that's open so you can kind of see what's going on with the audience. Dashboard here again, and then attendance list. So attendance list, right now I'm the only one on here. Like I said, if there was other people that were doing, they'd show up here under the staff tab. If you want to see the actual attendees, you click on the attendees tab, and then there would be, if you got 20 people, 40, 50, 100, a couple hundred people, you can see their names. You'd see their names, and then they would either show next to their name, like on my name, there would either be a phone tab, and it's typically going to look like that. It's going to be, they come in muted automatically, so nobody can talk or hear anything. If you wanted to unmute them, you could unmute them, and then they could actually ask a question. And here again, over in the attendee side, I'm showing you the staff. If they come in on a computer, then they can't ask a question typically because they're going to be showing that they're on a computer microphone. So they sometimes can, sometimes can't, depending upon how they got things set up, because they may not have a microphone on. But if there's that next to their name, then that means they're listening to the presentation on a computer and not on a telephone. And they won't be, sometimes they may not be able to ask a question because they may not have the mic hooked up. They may only have speakers. Because you do have this option down here where you, in this case, can be talking on a microphone and speakers or through the telephone. I'm going to tell you to always be on a telephone, and ideally make it a regular telephone, not a VoIP or anything like that, because you get interference and things like that. As for the Q&A, you want to get them to ask questions, and you can tell them they have a similar control panel to this, but much smaller, and really all they can do is enter a question, and then they can type their questions in, and then the questions, if you decide to do a Q&A at the end, their questions are going to show up here, and then you just simply read them. You can pull the question thing out. I typically pull it out here and realize that they're going to see, which is kind of interesting, so you can make it bigger, and then the questions will show up in here, and then you can simply read the question, and it'll have that who the person was that asked the question, and you can ask the question. You can also send a private one if you wanted to answer somebody privately. But typically, I don't like to have them able to ask questions, because oftentimes you're going to get somebody that either doesn't ask a question and they tell you something, but it kind of puts you in a little bit of an embarrassing predicament sometimes, or they'll ask a question that you may not want to answer or that's inappropriate, and it kind of messes up things. So I typically don't do a live Q&A and let them speak on the phone. If you have a small group or something like that, that you know who everybody is, yeah, you can do that if you want to. But typically, like I said, we just have them type their questions in there and then have them answer them. And you just hit the minus button, and it'll go back, and you can put it back over into the GoToWebinar there, and now it's entered back into the pane here. So you can see polls. We don't have one set up for this, so you don't have to worry about that. Like I said, this is a very basic training, and that's all I wanted you to know. I think that's about it. That covers everything. If you want, you can use the little drawing tools. You can click on a spotlight, if you want to kind of emphasize things. The only problem with the spotlight is when you go to click, you can hit the enter key on your keyboard sometimes. Like on mine, it's not working. But if you want to sit there and use something like this, typically you just test it out, but you're going to have to come back over here and do normal non-drawing mode, then come back over and click, on the screen to get it to change down here, like I just did. And then if you want to use the drawing thing, you're going to have to go back and, or the spotlight and things like that. So that's the basic thing. So now here again, we're in the presentation mode. Let's say that we're just about done with the presentation. I'm going to go back into here, so I got controls. And now we're going to stop the webinar. So we're going to say the webinar's in. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, blah, blah, blah. And then we hit stop. So now you can see it says stop. No one sees your screen. And we can go to the audience view. Now they're back over here, and it just shows the standard GoToWebinar Team for Evolution. You're going to hit the stop recording if you were recording. And now we're done. And that is how to run a GoToWebinar. Once you click out of it, here you drop out and hit quit, and now it's going to go, are you sure you want to end the webinar for everyone? So you click yes.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.
And now you can see that we're done with the webinar. So I hope that helps you out, and you're going to see something here. Now, because we did do a recording, it's actually going to go through its process right here, and it's going to start going through and doing its conversion, at which point it'll pop up with a screen that will show you the webinar, and then you can keep the webinar if you want to, if that's what your goal was, and save it in your computer, and then we'll talk about how to put it up for presentation later on. So I hope that helped you out. Next we also have another webinar if you haven't seen it yet, and that is actually how to set up the GoToWebinar. So make sure you check that one out too, so you can learn how to set your own webinars up. All right, thanks a lot.